All right, we'd like to welcome everyone out to the webinar this evening. Tonight's going to be a great webinar. We've got a full house with us. And we've got 500K David Butler, who's going to give us a Teeter Totter presentation. And also joining us are Mark McIntyre and Ben Dixon, who are from our support team and they're technology specialists. And they'll be speaking a little bit later on. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to David Butler. So go ahead and take it away, David.
Okay, thanks, Seth and Susie. I appreciate that. If you hear a little noise in the background, we have a cool little stream going through the property, and so that's a stream, and it's running fairly high right now because of all the snow runoff in the mountains. So anyway, let me get started with the Teeter Totter call. First, I'd like to say something about the Teeter Totter call and kind of the reason for it. As things change, and because of trends and change, strength of the industry, the weakness of the industry, the strength of different firms, the weakness of different firms, just all the stuff that goes on out there. Sometimes it's nice to get updates because things like this can be very helpful in recruiting. The only thing I like to caution is please don't use a call like this for trashing companies. Don't record this and send it to people and stuff like that because while I might say something a little bit harsher because of the type of call it is and be slightly blunt in certain cases, if I was actually prospecting or recruiting someone, I'd never be blunt. You prospect and recruit in a very loving and careful manner. So the purpose of this isn't for those things, but it is to help in talking to people and so forth. And I for sure right now, some of you there's a ton of people on the line, and if you don't have pencils and papers, I'd scurry around and get some real quick and get ready to write fast because once I get started, I'm not really gonna go over anything. And hopefully we can put this on in the archives. I've been about so what I'm going to do is go into trends and different companies and things. I've had lots and lots of people request information on different companies. And when I do these calls, I always go through those in a relatively quick manner. So I talk about segments of the industry, and then I talk about companies. I've been about 90% right. When I talked about, at the end of the call, I'll mention quite a large group of Teeter Totter companies. I call them my Teeter Totter list. And all I can say is if I was one of those companies, I probably wouldn't want to be on my Teeter Totter list. I've been about 90% right that in the next 12 to 18 months, good things might not be ahead for them. So anyway, that's about it, as bluntly as I probably want to put it right now. So it'd be kind of interesting to look at that list, like December 2012 and see how the companies stand and so forth. But once again, don't use things as trashing there, okay? Let me first start now and go into kind of a product and service review and talk about different segments of the industry because sometimes that's helpful. The juice part of the industry, the functional beverage, the nutritional juice part of the industry it's basically over right now, and most companies use their juice now as kind of their banner product, kind of their flagship product, just like we do. We don't. Most of the people don't necessarily lead with it right now. Some do, and that's fine, but most don't. But we certainly use it as the basis of our ordering, of our ADPs, and most companies are the same way that had juices. Those companies relying solely on a juice right now, almost solely on a juice, they're either gone or they have almost no volume left. And so I always tell people the juice wars are over, and the winners were Xango and Monavi and Tiish and Noni. Xango, of course, ended up being the big winner there. And it's at this point right now that we can kind of see what those companies are made of, what they do next. Because the giant companies, you can see what they're made of. Those companies that reach the $500 million mark, it's what they do next that matters. And of course, you're seeing the types of things Xango does next, and we're very happy with that. The energy drink part of the market kind of followed the functional beverage or juice market. For the most part, they're considered part of the juice market. They found that they didn't really take on their own identity. So when these companies kind of start coming up, changing from regular juices to energy drinks, it didn't make much of a dent. And for the most part, the companies didn't do very well. They went away, or they immediately had to move on to some other product line because the energy drink market just didn't take on much of an identity. The phone part of the industry, there's not too many phone companies left. I looked real hard to find as many phone companies as I could. I found 3 that relied very strongly on different phone services or electrical services. For the most part, they're gone. And the reason is technology is not their friend. What you need to do in this industry is make residual income. And there's not much residual income on phone calls anymore. So what the companies do is have to set up big signing bonuses, $300, $400, $500 signing bonuses, and you sign people up, and they have these coded signing bonuses and so forth. But once that's done on your friends and their friends and their friends, all of a sudden you're making just teeny little percents of pennies on people that are making phone calls. And if we know what's happening on the internet, won't be too long when phone calls are going to be free. I mean, they'll just be internet calls and they'll be free. The future is not going to probably be paid telephone calls. And with that, I think we'll soon see even the great companies gone. I even predict some years ago, I took so much flack in predicting the demise of Excel. When I predicted the demise of Excel, it was $1.5 billion company. That year, the very year I predicted it would go away, it was $1.5 billion, not in total sales, just that year alone. And within a year, it was gone. And I don't think the future is going to look very good for ACN, just because technology is not their friend. The travel industry, also another industry that's virtually gone. There's just 2-3 companies left out there, and people are learning the dangers now of these coded bonuses, these one-time bonuses on either phone, sign up for phone companies, or becoming kind of a semi-fake travel agent by getting a travel card for paying $500 and getting a travel card or something like that. So I think we're going to see that go away. There's probably, I remember years ago, there probably was 15, 20 travel companies. Some of them were $500 million, a couple of them were $500 million companies. Today there's 2 or 3 of them, and they're just teeny little things now compared to the past. Insurance, the insurance is going to stay strong. I think we'll see, the World Financial Group, Primerica, those type of things, they're going to stay strong. It's going to be we'll probably see more come out, and that'll be a good part of our industry and a solid part of industry. It's going to be difficult. I mean, doing insurance is one of the most difficult things there is, and but once a company and somebody gets established, it's pretty much, it's good residual, the same as nutrition or something like that, and there'll never be that many companies, because it's just such a difficult thing to be able to work your way up to a residual amount in the insurance business. The legal industry, I really consider this dangerous. There's really only 2 companies out there that do much work in the legal, like prepaid legal or something like that. They're always experiencing problems. There's always states giving them problems. There's always lawsuits going on. There's always problems with the type of income they pay, and with the type of bonuses they pay, and the type of chargebacks they have to pay, because of the nature of it being prepaid. They pay you in advance. That means if somebody cancels out before you catch up to that prepayment, that means the company charges you back. But that's the only way you can make money in those things, is to be prepaid. But the chargebacks catch up to you after a while. By the time somebody hits their second or third year in those things, retention is difficult, because all of a sudden, sometimes in so many cases, their chargebacks take away their entire check. And so it's very dangerous. A lot of the states don't like them. There's always challenges. And to be really honest, I eventually expect those types of companies to be closed. I really think eventually some of the states are really coming down on the coded bonuses and the prepaid bonuses, and it's getting a little worse all the time. And I really think eventually that's such a dangerous area that action will be taken. When it's finally taken seriously by one state on a permanent basis, of course, it'll cover the entire industry. The other one is another one is personal care. Most firms just remember, this is an area I think in Xango we have to look at much, much harder. Most firms, hardly any firm has the advantage we do. I don't think enough Xango people understand the huge, huge advantage we have in non-toxicity. A lot of companies talk about natural this and natural that. Just like I say on one of the videos on Life as It Could Be, hey, cocaine's natural. Natural really doesn't mean too much. A lot of, petrochemicals are natural. Killer stuff is natural. Natural means very little. Non-toxic is what means something. We're the only firm today that can sign the compact for safe cosmetics on safecosmetics.org. Push that fact. We need to spend a little bit more time pushing our advantage there. Hit the non-toxic thing as hard as some of you are hitting the beauty side of it and the natural side of it and the other things that are so wonderful at Glimpse and Junie, but hit the non-toxic side of it, because that's where our advantage lies. If all you do is talk about beauty or something like that, all of a sudden we start sounding like Avon or New Skin or one of those incredibly toxic firms. So sometimes we need to hit the thing toxic a little bit harder. We're the only firm. We have a massive advantage there. We can prove it by going to the Compact for Safe Cosmetics. Another two more things is the diet industry. It'll always be strong. It'll always be strong. And of course, in the near future, Xango will be entering this in a big way with multiple products and programs and systems and stuff coming from corporate and so forth. This can be very, very big. And Xango's working very hard on being very different in this area. And if we come out with even weak diet programs are strong in different companies. They just do something to a company. And a company like Xango with our kind of name and coming out with a good diet program with multiple products, multiple programs and tools and so forth, this is to be huge. Start talking right now to your friends and so forth, because we're going to have a good hook. We're going to make a difference, and be ready for that. And the last thing is the nutrition industry. Once again, just like diet and personal care, it'll always be strong, never go away. It'll always be the strongest thing. Don't forget that in these last three things I just mentioned, personal care, diet, and nutrition, that's where 95% of all the money made in the industry is paid out. 95%. All the other things I covered, the legal and travel and phone and all those other things, they only amount to 5% of the money paid out. And yet some of those firms say, you don't want to do nutrition, you want to do this because it's saturated, there's too many firms and so forth. Well, the reason there's so many firms is there's so much money there. It's all residual and so forth. And you get with a good firm that makes a difference and has something special, and their story is stronger than somebody else, and all of a sudden you can be part of the 95% of the money. The other 5% of the money most of the time goes away, because those are those service firms are the firms that have a hard time staying in business. But anyway, be careful when people talk to you or some of your friends. Know how to counter that argument about you don't want to do nutrition because there's too much saturation there. Yeah, there's saturation of firms, but there's also saturation of money. That's where 95% of the money is paid out. Let's go into a few things about using common sense, and then I'll get into companies. Here's some things. I'm going to go over this very quickly, but I want to tell you some things not to get caught up in. This is just a big, important general list of dumb things, silly things, things that don't work, things that come and go and come and go and come and go. Just a list of things to tell your friends to stay out